from Scrimpingmommy.co.uk. Thanks for joining me today. And today we're going to make a really easy but really kind of elegant and awesome floating window card, I call them. So I've cut my cardstock already. This is the beautiful Pretty Peacock, one of the new in colours. It's absolutely stunning. I love it. And I have cut this to 8 1/4 by 5 7/8. Then I've simply folded it in the middle. If you want to score, you would score at 4 1/8. And then I'm going to burnish it really well. This cardstock almost feels thicker than normal. I think for some reason the darker colours do. Don't ask me why, it might be me imagining it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut away a central section. So the easiest way I've found to do that, rather than remembering loads of different measurements, is I get my crease and I put the crease of my card to the 1 1/2 inches mark on my trimmer, okay, and I get the edge of my card straight against the grid, okay, so 1 1/2 inches is there. Okie doke. Let's get it nice and straight. You can go all the way up to what I call the butt bar if you like, and then just trim that away. So 1 1/2 inches, okay. And then with this piece here, you want to turn it around, trim from the bottom 1 1/2 inches, and then you know it's nice and straight. 1 1/2 inches. Okay, the central part you move, and this 1 1/2 inches piece is then going to be the bottom of your card. You've now cut the middle part of the card away. Okay, so to replace the middle part of the card, we're having a piece of acetate. Might be difficult to see on camera. There we go, piece of acetate, and I have cut that to just a sliver short of 5 7/8, so it doesn't protrude, by 2 inches, and we will attach that on the inside. So I'm going to actually do that in a moment when I've just done some matting and layering on my card. I'll do the acetate last because then that reduces the risk of me daubing it up with glue and getting finger marks on it and making a mess with it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to mat and layer these two narrow pieces here. So first of all, I've cut 2 pieces of, let me just zoom out, very vanilla cardstock. And these measure, I've written it down, 1 3/8 by 5 3/4. So we've cut 2 of those, one for the top and one for the bottom. And then we've cut some of the lovely paper whose name I've momentarily forgotten. It's the beautiful, it's from the Gleaming Ornaments, what's it called? Brightly Gleaming, yay, I labelled it. Brightly Gleaming DSP with the copper foil detailing. It's absolutely stunning. I absolutely love it. So I've cut 2 pieces of that, and they both measure 5 5/8 by 1 1/4. I will leave these measurements over on my blog, and the link to that is in the description box below. So we're going to start and construct our card, and I am using wet glue so that I can get it nice and straight. So let's get cracking. Hopefully the light will play ball with me. I need to make sure I'm in shot. I've slightly moved my camera over, so I need to be a little bit further into shot. So do beg my pardon if I go out of shot until I get used to the new position. Just shout at me. I'll hear you. Okay, so we're layering that on there. And the very vanilla just goes beautiful with that copper foil, and I think it looks nicer with the very vanilla against this Pretty Peacock, which is also the colour in the paper. It just looks slightly more elegant than white cardstock, so that's why I've chosen my very vanilla. Okay. Layer that on there really nicely. I'm racing against the clock today because I've got the lovely Stamping with Hannah coming to visit me today. I'm super excited. I love it when my crafty friends come over. It's one of the best things about being a demonstrator, is that I know that all of my friends are just total geeks like me, crafty nutters, and it's lovely. It's my tribe. So I can't wait. I'm super excited. So there is my top and my bottom. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do a layer on the inside. So I've cut another piece of Very Vanilla, and I've cut this to 5 3/4 by 4. And so I'm doing all of my gluing and all of my sticking and all of my jobs before I attach my acetate. And again, that is to reduce the risk of me making a mess of the acetate. Because if you get glue on it, or daub it up with finger marks, you know, it can look a little bit pants. So do be mindful and do be careful and do it last. That's what I'm doing. It's a little bit like when I'm getting ready in the morning. I always put my t-shirt on last so I don't daub it up with makeup. Got a tiny bit of glue on there now, but I will get it off with my glue eraser. So now I have a little sliver of paper spare on my desk from cutting and from doing my sample, because I do have a sample here. And I don't want to waste it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that to decorate the inside of my card, so that when the recipient opens it, it looks super pretty. So if you've got little tiny slivers or you've trimmed some off and you've got it lying about, use it on your card. Don't just bin it. Use it on your card. Let me just, and you know, and if that was a short piece, I'd perhaps maybe run it down that side or run it across the top. It might be thinner, it might be thicker, but I'd use that scrap straight away there and then on my card. Okay, so now we need to attach our acetate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold the bottom in position where I want it, with just a little clip. And what that will do is it's just going to help me line that acetate up in a moment. So I'm making sure I don't have any glue on my hands or any ink or any goo or anything. And I'm going to start and add some adhesive to my acetate, top and bottom. This is red line tape. Sadly for me, Stampin' Up don't sell it. I wish they did, because then I'd get it at a discount and I would buy it from there. So if you don't have red line tape, search for it on Amazon. I'm just lifting it down off camera a moment so that I can actually see what I'm doing, because obviously it's see-through and on a glass mat it just totally disappears. So I just need some scissors. Here we go. Alright, so that's the top, and then here is the bottom. Alright. And hopefully the light isn't too bright there. I think I might just quickly shut these blinds and hopefully it will turn the brightness down slightly, because it is an absolute bane of my life trying to get the lighting correct for my videos. It really is the bane of my life. One day I'll have a beautiful studio with fancy lighting. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I need to be mindful that I want that acetate to reach both sides. So I want it at least there on that side and at least there on that side. So I'm just carefully lining it up. Okay, and then I'll just hold that steady and remove that tape there. Hopefully I'm in shot. And then if I just press there, now that is lined up. Okay, now I can just remove my clip a moment. Remove that from the bottom. This is how I do it. You might think, oh Amanda, you're messing about, I know an easier way. So in that case, you do it your way. So now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to turn it around. I'm going to lay my bottom so that it meets up with the bottom edge of the card and the edges, and then press. And now that has attached my acetate to the centre, like so. Boom, easy peasy dragon sneezer. Right, so let's move those out of the way and start and decorate this card. So what we're going to do is we're going to do some of the baubles. I'm using the coordinating stamp set, which is Christmas Gleaming, and they do come in a bundle with the punches. I've used these to make a flower, super versatile, but today we're going to use them for their proper use. I'm going to stamp some of these. So get rid of that, we don't need it. I've used all 3 of the baubles, and I've used this beautiful Merry Christmas sentiment here. It's a 9-piece set, beautiful. I've used them all and they all stamp out absolutely stunning. Holly is always important for your Christmas crafting. So I'm just going to stamp a few out so you can have a look at the design, because what I've done is I've pre-prepared some of mine. So look at that one, that's that one. How awesome is that? And then this is like a swirly design. Oh my gosh, beautiful. And then this is the smaller one. Okay, absolutely stunning. They stamp beautifully. And then obviously you can punch them out with your coordinating punch. They line up really easily and they give you a lovely little white border all the way around. So that's the larger one, and this is the smaller one. And you can make these all day long. Punch away, stamp punch, absolutely immediate, super easy, brilliant, love it. Right, so that's those. Now what I have done with mine, I will tell you, is I have coloured the top part in with my gold gel pen. Okay. You might not see it on camera, but it does have a shimmer to it, and so that it's in keeping with the foil in there. And then what I did do, I have very carefully trimmed all of mine because I don't want that white border. Okay, now you might think, well, why don't you just trim it to start with? And I'll tell you why. Because I'm a little bit, shall we say, I've got very bad eyes. So by punching it out first, it's easier for me, because then I've got almost a double guideline to go to, and I find the fussy cutting then absolutely easy. And I'm only doing this because I'm going to ink them. If you're not going to ink them and you just want the lovely beautiful stamped images as they are, you don't need to do this. Okay, you can miss this bit out. But I'll show you why I did it, and then you'll understand, because I'm just going that little bit further and I'm just stepping it up a little tiny bit. So then what I did was I got my little sponge dauber and I got my Pretty Peacock ink, which is the same colour that this is stamped on. Let me just get a scrap piece. Okay, so I've inked up my sponge dauber. I've dabbed some off because I don't want it too strong. So the first thing I would do is flick all the way around the edge, because I don't want that white edge showing. Okay, I've trimmed it, I don't want it showing. Don't want any of that white cardstock edge showing. And then what I've done is I very gently flick a little bit further in. Alright, and even go in gentle circular motion so that the ink's not too dark, because I love inking things to give them shape and definition. Okay, so I've inked those, and the idea being that I've got the dark colour on the outside and then the inside is lighter so that it looks like it's catching the light. Okay, so that is the theory behind my madness of why I have done that. So here they are. These are my ornaments that I've done. So I'm going to start and attach these now. Let me just, it's okay, make sure I haven't got any ink on my fingers. And so then what I've done is I've used very, very small amounts of glue, very small, okay? And it will dry on the acetate. This one's running out. So you're doing a tiny dot on the top and a tiny dot on the bottom. Okay, in fact that's probably a bit much. I'm just going to smush it about. Okay. And then I can place that where I would like it, and I would like it there. Okay. And then hold it for a moment so that it dries. Just dab off any excess glue, because I'm a little heavy-handed with the glue. And then I've got this one at the other side. and I'm doing pretty much the same. Okay, I don't want a lot of glue, just a tiny bit. I'm just going to lift this one just a little bit higher up than the first one, just a tiny bit, so they're not exactly the same. And then I've got a blue one and another green one. Now the green is Mossy Meadow. Okay, and what I've done with these, I've shaded them the same, and then just in the centre there I've added a little bit more gold gel pen. Okay, so let's just zoom in ever so slightly. And I have attached this one, and I've glued the side of that one, and I've glued it on top of the larger one. And then just a tiny dot there. Okay, tiny dot there. Alright, and then this one goes there like so. So then it's as little glue as possible on the acetate, because we're using the shape there in the bottom of the card as our anchor. Right, where's my other? I've got one missing. Which there, look. And then this one I'm going to put a tiny dab of glue on that side there, because I'm going to tuck it underneath, just very small. Okay, and then about a line about a third of the way down like so. Okay, is that about right? Yeah. And then what I'm doing is I'm very carefully sliding that underneath that one and push it down and attach it there like so. Just have it straight. Okay, so then we've got that. And you know, you've got your window, so it's see-through. It's very pretty, and with that shading, if you take that extra time, it just looks that little bit more special. So now we've got our sentiment, and this is a beautiful sentiment, and I'm using it on the Very Vanilla so that it matches. Okay, and I'm going to use the beautiful Pretty Peacock ink. It really is stunning. So let me just clear my desk of all of this stuff, because we don't need it. Alright, I want you to see how beautiful this stamps out, because it's super lovely. It stamps a solid block of colour with the sentiment in the middle. It's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm stamping here on my Very Vanilla. I'm going to try and stamp as cool, you know, in the corner so that I know it's straight, leaving an increment all the way around, hopefully to help me trim it. And look at that. Isn't that lovely? It really is beautiful. So I'm just going to give that a second to dry, and then I'm going to trim it to size. And I am going to do it by eye. Hopefully I won't spoil it and make it go wonky. But it's not an awfully long sentiment, so it's pretty easy to just trim. You could probably use your, what's it called, classic label would probably work on this if you were worried about getting it straight. I'm not too worried. I'm not too worried. Let me just trim that down a little bit, like so. And there. Now this card, you know, I'm not quite sure how long I've been filming, but if you want something a little bit special, you've got to take a little bit of extra time on it. Now what I'm going to use for dimension, I use these, which are the foam adhesive strips, when I'm making shaker cards and things like that. And I always end up with little bits left over. So what I'm going to do is, instead of using a load of dimensionals, I'm going to use these, just trim that off at the bottom where it's a little bit long. And then I'm good to go. I don't have to have a billion dimensionals on there. Alright, so let me just move those foam adhesive strips, and then I'm going to attach this to the bottom of my card, giving it a nice increment there and trying to get it straight. And there we go. Is that straight? It is now. So there you go, you've got a lovely floating window card. You've decorated it inside, it's absolutely beautiful. There's my original one, so you've not done bad. I've pretty much kept to the design, and look at that gold foiling paper. That is something else. Go and give it a try. I'll leave all the details on my blog. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.